Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Matt Willson SFL Kickoff Show. I'm Mike Taggs. He's Gerald Smith. We've got the week 14 of season 24 kicking off in just about 45 minutes' time. Behind the scenes, we've got Cameron Irvine and Ron Haynes on our production. Welcome to week 14. Gerald, another Friday night.
Another Friday night. Man, I like this. These nights I don't have to cry myself to sleep. Cam has
You're so
allowed us to
dramatic.
do this for 2 weeks in a row straight. I'm feeling
Yeah.
pretty good. I was hyped up last week.
I know you were. I'm expecting the same sort of energy tonight. You've set a new precedent for the energy that you need to bring to the
Oh,
show,
man.
and that was it. So, see a lot of people in the chat already. Demond Simeon's in there. We got Rob Foraker, the Lake Man. The Lake Man's always here. He just had another great quote. He says he's got a fever, and the only cure is more SFL action. You know how many T-shirts and posters we could make with just Lake Man quotes?
Yeah, the Lake Man. Look, we're gonna bring one to the convention.
That's what's up.
So it'll
Just a
be
couple
it'll be
months away.
good. Yep.
Rooms literally are going fast. So you haven't even booked yours yet.
Well,
Slacker.
I'm waiting for you to tell me what my duty is.
Let's
terms of,
recap last week. Let's move on from whatever he's saying. So had a lot of great games last week, and a very heartbreaking game for the Aztecs as well. But looking at those games last week, we kicked things off with Houston and Denver. It was kind of a make or break moment for Denver, in our opinion, and they kind of broke in that one. Houston stomped them 44-27.
Houston. I mean, because we called that game, right? So Houston just slowly just warmed down and took over the game. Turnovers was the story in that game,
yeah.
and Houston cashed in. Denver couldn't cash in on their opportunities.
Washington put on a true offensive show. We'll actually talk about that one a little bit more later on. 55-20 over Los Angeles. Oklahoma City at home. I thought they might get back-to-back wins. They didn't. Atlanta 30-14 over them. Mexico City, Baltimore, really game of the week material. We didn't talk about that one as the game of the week, but man, did it ever live up to expectations?
It was really good.
A heartbreaker for me, of course, as we lost 23-20, but a fantastic game. I'm sure I'll watch again and cry myself to sleep again. But I digress. Nashville finally got rid of that. Oh, Gerald, they won at home over Lexington 31-17. Congrats, Nashville.
Look, and it was good to see the finally get, and they won convincingly at that. And Lexington seemingly is falling apart, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yep. Yeah. Minnesota beat Charleston, and Vancouver over Bossier City, and Florida blanking Arizona at home 31-0 in their own house. You be nice. We're going to move right on because
Yes.
you have nothing nice to say, so you'll say nothing at all. Let's look at the playoff picture, the first look at the updated playoff picture since we've last seen it. Albuquerque out in front, currently at the number one spot. As we get the playoff picture up on the screen here in just a sec. And we've got Albuquerque at number one, Washington at number two, Baltimore at number three, and Houston up there at the number four spot. And, of course, you got Vancouver at five. They're also there with only the 3 losses. Mexico City also with only 3 losses, but played one less game there at number 6. Then you got a bunch of teams, Gerald, with 4 losses, and even Queen City at the number 12 spot with a 5th loss. But it's really looking like, 7-5 is going to leave a lot of teams out in the cold, as 8-4 could happen for a lot of those teams all the way down to the number 11 spot.
Right, and interestingly enough, we have Denver, right? As of last week, they were the team to be in, and now they are looking right out with it, with their loss, to begin last week. So it's getting really, really interesting right now because we got a couple of teams, this week that are actually playing each other. One actually tonight.
Yeah, we got
a couple of playoff squads.
Some great games tonight. Great games all weekend long, and we'll get into breaking some of those down. One thing that you'll notice still up here on the screen, Gerald, every team in the South, all 5 of the teams in the South, not only on the picture, but in that top 12, with Houston, being up there at the number 4 spot, Mexico City at 6, and then you've got Bossier City at 9, Fort Worth at number 10. Of course, Albuquerque leading the pack right now at number 1.
Look, and Houston looking with their bye week they got this week right now, right, in second place division at the Albuquerque. They're going to see how this is going to fall at the end of the day. They could be looking, hey, look, are they going to be in the division lead?
Right.
Depending on the outcome of a game, that's going to happen later this weekend.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting.
Albuquerque's been leading the South for a while now, but I'm going to talk about it a little bit more later on. There's only 2 weeks left, Gerald, but a lot of moving parts. let's take a look at the Week 14 schedule now and see what we've got in slate for us this evening and all throughout the weekend. Finally, we've got some games on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I love to see it. No Monday Night Spectacular this week, but you do have a good, solid weekend full of games. See the schedule right there. I'll move over so my head's not blocked by the schedule. There's so many games. It's just blocking things. We're starting things off tonight, Gerald, with Washington at Bossier City. Big game for both of those teams. We'll break it down in detail a little bit later on. In the same time block, if you don't want to hear us, you don't have to. Chris Curtis and Mark Lopez will bring you Fort Worth at Pittsburgh. On Saturday, we kick things off at 6:30 p.m. Eastern time, a game I am so excited and terrified to see all at the same time. Such mixed emotions. Albuquerque at Mexico City. That's going to be another great one. I can't wait to talk about that one because we are going to talk about that next. That is our game of the week. I promise I'm not going to be all rah-rah Mexico City. You'll see. It'll be fair and unbiased-ish. Cameron Duty, Eddie Gage on the call. DC at Baltimore in that same spot. Jacob Clear, Anthony Ellison, the Charleston crew. 9 p.m. we've got Arizona, Los Angeles with Colin Northrup and DJ Kilgannon, who I'm told is going to bring the DJ meter. I don't know what the DJ meter is, but, well, it's, kind of like a Rick meter, only cooler. Sorry, Rick.
That's the poor man's meter. That's what I'm gonna call it.
Indianapolis, Florida rounds out Saturday night for us with Alex West and Baron Went. On Sunday, we've got Charleston, Nashville with Mike O'Neill and Wade Phillips. Chicago, Queen City with Ramos Lynn and Rochelle Colston at 6:45 p.m. At 9 p.m., we've got Sin City, Carolina with Jacob Clear and DJ Kilgannon. And Oklahoma City, Denver rounds out the evening with Tyler Falk, Brett Solberg. So, listen, a lot of great games. We're going to talk about Washington, Bossier City. We're going to talk about Albuquerque, Mexico City. What other game stands out to you the most?
The Sin City, Carolina matchup
Okay.
there. Like, we already know, hey, Carolina's in, right, with what they have, going on right there. And all they have is just the one game left, which is this one right here. So it's not going to affect their standing at all getting into playoffs. But for Sin City, it's going to be a game that they're going to have to come in and got to play well. And they're going to have to win to get themselves in a situation, to kind of keep pursuing their actually playoff hopes.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, it's honestly, it's Fort Worth, Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh at 3-7. I think they're a lot better than a 3-7 team. Louisiana North, as you constantly to the point of nauseum call them.
And the record shows it too.
Facts. You said it, not me. But Pittsburgh, they're at home. I think they'll put up a good fight against Fort Worth. And Fort Worth, they need to keep winning. They're currently at the bottom of the South. That's part of those moving parts I talked about.
And also, guess what? In that game that you just mentioned, Fort Worth has a habit of playing down to their opponent. So Pittsburgh at home, they do have a shot.
Corey Menner in the chat just says, "Ouch, Gerald."
I feel
you didn't
it
know
too,
he was
Corey.
looking.
No, I feel it too, Corey. I feel it every time I see him play and they don't do well. It hurts me. It pains me.
Love to see T-Pat here as well. He says it's like the Rick meter, only he pulls it out of the back of his van at parties. The DJ meter. I like it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that again. All right, let's talk about our game of the week, Albuquerque at Mexico City. Listen, we've already hinted at it a few times. I'm going to talk about less about the game. I'll let you talk about the game. I'm going to talk more about the South in general because the South is a very messy place. You've got Albuquerque at number 1 at 8-2. You've got Houston at number 2. They're 8-3. Mexico City, they're in 3rd place at 7-3. 4th and 5th, you figure, usually in the 4th and 5th spots in the division, it's a couple of teams that aren't really doing that well. Well, you got Bossier City and Fort Worth both at 6-4. All 5 teams have a winning record. And there's a plausible scenario that this entire division ends up 8-4. It can still mathematically happen that the whole squad ends 8-4. You'd need some very specific things to happen, right? You need Mexico City to win this week, and then they'd have to lose next week. They would end at 8-4. In that scenario, Albuquerque would be losing this week to Mexico City. Then if they lose to Fort Worth in week 15, Albuquerque's also 8-4. Fort Worth winning that week 15 game, they would just need to beat Pittsburgh tonight. They'd be at 8-4. Bossier City, they play later on tonight. And if they win that one and beat Houston in week 15, both Bossier City and Houston would then end up, you guessed it, 8-4. It's wild. It's wild. It actually could happen. Will it happen? Probably not. But it's, it could. And that's at least exciting to talk about. So it is possible. And it also puts almost everybody still in play for the division title, including the currently 5th place Fort Worth Toros, who they have the head-to-head against Houston and Mexico City, and they could potentially against Albuquerque. They would need to beat Albuquerque to get to 8-4. So if they did, they would have the head-to-head over all three of those squads. Only Bossier City is currently mathematically eliminated from winning the South. They could still end 8-4, but they don't have the tiebreakers with other teams to be able to get ahead of Albuquerque. So there's a lot that'll play out in these final 2 weeks, including a huge matchup here on Saturday between Albuquerque and Mexico City. So I'll talk a little bit about the game, then I'll kick it over to you. Mexico City is currently number 2 in points per game scored and points per game allowed, number 2 in both of those categories. Albuquerque, they're number 4 and number 7 in both of those categories. So listen, these two teams are both powerhouses, but only one can come away with the win. Break this one down for us.
And Albuquerque, right? They're winners of 4 straight, currently leading the South as the leaders at 8-2, and they have been dominant at home. We know that ever since they come up
undefeated. They've never lost at home.
They've never lost at home. Their losses have come solely on the road, and this season they are 2-2 on the road, 4 games played. Their only 2 losses are on the road. Wide receiver K. Marion has been playing at an extremely high level, right? Who is their quarterback, Sarah Stroud's favorite target.
Oh, yeah.
She leads the league in reception yards with 1,235, is number 2 in catches with 68. She has this just blew my mind when I was looking at it.
Mm-hmm.
She has 3 times more catches than any other player on the team. It's insane. She has almost 70, and no one on the team has 30.
Yep.
No other person has 30 on the team. So look, and Jive, he's thrown for 1,906 passing yards. 1,235 of those are solely responsible. Kay Mary has been just dominant, right? She is a game changer for the offense. It's like if she goes, the team goes, especially on offense. The run game has been pretty good as well, right? With running back Jason Williams, number 7 in rush yards in the league with 696, and he is number 1 in touchdowns.
Yeah,
that tells me
when
they're getting close near the end zone,
Yep.
he's putting the ball in the end zone, which can be tough for defenses. So defense had to prep for that. On offense, they are number 4 in points scored. They score 26 points a game, but in every other one, they're kind of middle of the road categories. But the offense, and we're going to talk about here in just a second, is all set up by their defense, and it makes them really, really efficient. And another thing they're not doing, extremely bad at is turnovers. They are not turning the ball over. The 4th fewest turnovers in the SFL. That keeps your offense on the field and being able to put pressure on the opposing defense. So, the offense can run really well.
And their defense is fantastic, too, as you were mentioning. I mean, top 8 in points allowed and a bunch of other categories, too. Talk about that defense.
Yeah, like you said, and points allowed on defense, they're ranked 7th.
Yep.
Rush yards, they rank 8th. Takeaways, they rank 8th.
Yeah.
They are very disruptive up front with the front 4 as well. 16 sacks by the front 4, led by defensive end Chris Porter, who has 9 sacks on the season, is number 2 in the SFL in that category. Look, and they are also being good up front versus the run. That's how that front 4 is able to get all this pressure. Why? Because they're forcing the opponents to be in passing type situations because they are so good against the run, right? Put them in the pass situations, and guess what? Their DBs are kind of feasting, right? And all of them have been great. All 5 DBs in the secondary have multiple interceptions.
Yeah.
Cornerback Daniel Valentine actually has 5 interceptions on the season for the secondary. But I think the best player on this unit is the free safety, TJ Frosty, who is seemingly in on every single tackle. He has 94. It's ranked 6th in the SFL right now, but I think he's the best player on this defense making on tackles because he's all over the field. And one knock that I have on this defense right now is that they rank last in third down efficiency. They are allowing 62% conversion on third down. So that's something they're going to have to navigate against a very, very well-run offense like Mexico City. So
at least you give me a little bit of good news.
Yeah, so. and I think one of the X factors they have is going to be Kyle Fenimore that could have an impact on special teams. Has a kick return and a punt return for a touchdown.
All right, well, let's talk about Mexico City a little bit. I'll defer completely to you for the respect of everybody else.
Look, last week we know you lost, right, by 3 points after winning 5 straight.
Yes.
And people don't forget. Look, Baltimore is no turnover, right? The defending champs, in my opinion, are extremely good. One of the best, if not the best, over the last 2 seasons. The offense, in my opinion, I think it's the best in the league with how versatile and creative you guys are, and getting this customized offensive scheme out there, right? And this is how the offense ranks: number 2 in points a game, number 7 in passing, number 5 in rushing, number 5 total offense, and number 2 in turnovers for having the fewest turnovers in the league.
Sold.
That's really good, and that's how you end up
Sipe
winning
has played
championships.
really well. Sipe's
Right,
really
so,
kept things clean this
look,
season, but
and guess what?
efficient.
They are efficient,
Yeah.
just in my opinion, to say the least.
Yeah.
The run game, 4.6 yards per carry. Number 1 in the league right now in yards per carry. Quarterback Jordan Sipe has displayed his running ability this season, but what some people might not realize, he is the league's most efficient passer. He is +6 in the touchdown to interception ratio and has thrown the fewest interceptions in the league, and is number 1 in QBR. That's the efficiency to the max, and he's been throwing to one of the best wide receivers over the last few seasons. Noe Terrazas leads the league with 10 touchdown receptions. Look, not to mention, all the other pass catchers that you guys have. Great. You guys are able to stretch the field. You got Henry at tight end that does really good. It's a well-rounded offense, makes very little mistakes, and you guys have beat opponents at home. This is how good you are at home. Have beat opponents at home by an average of 18 points a game this season. That's 3 scores. That's how you'll play good at home. And Albuquerque struggles on the road.
I'm excited now, but we still got to talk about the defense. Jared Dumas in the chat as well. His player, rookie on our offense this season, really coming into form now here late in the season, which perfect timing. Jared, we'll need you this week. But talking about the defense, you look at the defense statistically. Last I checked, and I try not to check too much, we were dead last in pass defense. But it's because, like you just said, usually we're beating opponents by 2-3 scores, and they're trying to throw to catch back up. So statistically, the defense doesn't look good.
Right.
What are your thoughts?
Yeah, and look, and you have to look further into it to actually see it, right? Because look, your unit, I don't think is as good as the Adams on the surface, on paper, right? Yeah. You look at it. But you guys are just as good, if not better, than what they have been. You guys allow the second fewest points a game and have arguably the best linebacker core in Fowler, Yolia, and Osiris, who all have 10-plus tackles for losses this season and multiple sacks among the 3 as well. It just shows again. And this is the thing. This team does not blitz very often. If you watch them play, they don't blitz. They like to sit back and do it. And when you have 2 Hall of Fame safeties sitting on the back end waiting, and Jeffrey Daggs and the dude who just seemingly just tries to knock fumbles out of everybody,
Max.
Just kills people.
Oh,
Max Jackson.
He gets punchy sometimes.
You don't need to.
Right.
So guess what? The very productive defense, a scheme that few offenses have figured out other than someone like Baltimore. And guess what? I think it still continues on here. So it's going to be a really, really good game to see.
It is.
How that's going to shake out.
All right, that one's on Saturday night, 6:30 p.m. My heart will be at about 150 beats per minute on average. So kind of looking forward to that one, but can't wait to see how it all plays out. All right, let's talk a little bit more about last week and get into our offensive and defensive player spotlights. For me, I know you knock on me when I go with quarterbacks, but guess what? Quarterbacks, they play offense. And you know who played some offense this past week? I knew you'd be excited about this one. Go Revs. Washington Trident quarterback Tommy Utah. Let's see these highlights that Ron Haynes put together for us. Look at these stats, Gerald. He had 4 passing touchdowns. He also had 2 rushing touchdowns. I love me a dual threat quarterback. And we watched a little bit of this game live together. Look at the quick decision making that he's got. Just gets that ball out and finds his target. Here's another one. He finds my guy, Terrell Cooper. Quick pass over the middle. Just drops back 3 steps, fires, finds his wide open target. And here's what we noticed when we were watching this game live. And we started rewinding it because we were like, we got to see this again. Watch the pressure, right? Pressure right in his face. Who cares? Throws it right downfield, 17-yard pickup. Like it was nothing. He saw the guy that was coming right at him. Doesn't matter. Just throws his first touchdown pass of the night. Here you go. Here's some more pressure he's going to see. He rolls right into the pressure. Bam! Who cares? Look at that. Look at off to the races. Almost a touchdown. He's going to be tackled short. But you know what? But wait, there's more. Mihata, he boxes out the defender here, right in the end zone. Touchdown. Beautiful shot of the blimp. I love that. I could never see too much of that. I kind of hope we show it again, but you know what? Ron Haynes let me down this time. He only showed the blimp once. Here's some passing stats that he's got, just absolutely feasting over the middle. At halftime, 14 of 22, 215 yards and 2 touchdowns. But you know what? In the second half, he'd throw 11 passes for 212 yards and 2 more touchdowns and finished with a 150.2 rating. He'd put up nearly the same numbers in the second half as his impressive first half. Here's more pressure, shakes the sack right off like it was nothing. Who cares? Gets his target all the way down to the end zone. Tutty. That was touchdown pass number 3. But you know what? 3 touchdowns, Gerald, that's just not enough. Let's go for a 4th. Gets all the way down to the 6, chucks it. Mihata actually helping him out here, breaking like 6 tackles, bouncing around like a pinball machine. But you know what? The thing I love the most about this, Gerald, a dual threat quarterback. Let's see him get it done all by himself. Tommy Utah runs it right up the middle, gets himself into the end zone, rushing touchdown number 1. You know what, though? He's going to go ahead and get himself a second one because 1 rushing touchdown, not good enough. From way in the back, slides in, touchdown, 55-17. Listen, when you have a quarterback that can throw 4 touchdown passes, he can rush for 2 touchdowns. He throws for over 400 yards. His rating, almost perfection, 150.2, no interceptions. That's a game like that, and I saw some people talking in the chat, not in our chat, just in discussions throughout the week. Well, they were playing Los Angeles and Los Angeles isn't doing what they're still playing an SFL team. 4 passing touchdowns, 424 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns. Tommy Utah, offensive player of the week.
Look, and I couldn't agree more. I love seeing the former Rebs do their stuff. So when I saw this pick, you know what? I had to say go Rebs myself. Look, and all that stuff he took, look, and I got to apologize. They're utilizing him how we want to use it. And a lot of people don't realize he is a championship quarterback.
Yeah.
He won a championship in the minors, led his team to a championship victory down there in the minors. So he has that in the system to be able to play like this each and every week. And look, and all him just kind of, getting in there and being able to stand the pressure, that was accidentally built into him in Louisiana because he got hit so many times. We couldn't protect him like we wanted. But look, he come to it. Congratulations, Tom Utah. Well deserved.
All right. It's time for the defensive player spotlight. Spoiler, Damon Simeon in the chat. Pay attention. Gerald, who do you got?
So everybody knows I like me some Damon Simeon. I love Houston. My kid's there. Everybody knows it. And I'm not bashful to say it. But the defensive player spotlight for me is Houston headhunter linebacker number 52, Jason Peace. Why? Because you're going to look at these stats right here and you're like, oh, just 7 tackles and 2 interceptions. But it's not only that. I'm an eye test guy, right? And guess what he did? Right here on one of his first plays, as we see the flames coming out of the skull there, right? You're going to see right here how he comes in there and he kind of forces somewhat of a little cutback there. And guess what? He still takes a route right there and able to kind of close down and make it in there, right? He's really, really quick. What's he do right here? He takes on an offensive lineman and pushes him backwards and then comes off of him and still helps make the tackle. What do we have here? Look, ball carrier, bam. He doesn't make the tackle, but what's he do? He's fast, right to the ball carrier, first to the ball carrier, slows him down, and gets it done. Similar play right here. Again, first one to the ball carrier, slows him down, allows his teammates to come in. The guy is in almost every play. And right here is another one right here. He's in pursuit of the running back here, navigates through it, hurdles an opponent or a player's feet so that I can take it, and then helps make the tackle. What's he do right here? Watch how quick recognition he does right here. Realizes where he at. Bam, hits him right there. Prevents the guy from getting in. And we're going to see his pass defense right here. And I love the way Ron Haynes do this out. He knows his responsibility, covers the guy right there. But notice where it's at. Breaks on the running back once he gets the ball, and it comes to a minimal gain at most. Similar play, looks like a similar type of coverage. What's he do? He says, nope, I'm going to sit back here, and he's going to pick it off. What's he do? This is the guy that actually said, hey, we need 3 picks before the game to be successful.
Pre-game,
and you know what? And that's 1. And they had actually 4 on the day. He almost, like today, because you're going to see another one right after this replay. How good of a play he makes right here. And what's he do right here as we're getting late in there? He comes there, bam, gets in there and makes the same thing type of happen that he's been doing as well. Same thing right here. What's he do? Sacrificing his body right there. As a man wants to try to jump in, he's like, I can do that too.
Another goal line stop.
Another goal line stop for him. Same thing right here. Look at this. He goes in there, and what's he do? He just says, I'm not getting in a tackle. I'm going to tackle this guy. The offensive lineman's gone down. So what's he do? He said, look, I can play pass defense as well. Again, Tip drills it to himself. This is the one that kind of just sealed the game. They got the ball back and actually just kneeled it, got in a victory formation, and that's how he capped off his game right there. Look, and Peace is having such a career season this season. 66 tackles, 13 tackles for losses, 8 interceptions, which leads the SFL as a linebacker. It's pretty insane to see linebacker 8 interceptions lead the SFL. He's a 6-season veteran, has a career total of 452 career tackles, 16 interceptions. We know 8 of them have been this season.
Yeah.
1 pick six. Eddie Gage, because you lost last week, he has 1 more than you have, and I don't think you're ever going to get it. You're never going to get it.
Let
Stay
it go,
going.
bro.
But anyway, look, he has 1 All-Star appearance, which was last season. He showed that he is actually in peak prime performance, and I do think he's got more All-Star appearances coming. The way that this team is using him, he's versatile. He's everywhere. He's able to do it all. Congratulations to Jason Peace.
Yeah, congratulations, Jason Peace. Indeed, couldn't have picked a better player myself. We called that game, and watching it live, I knew I could just see your eyes sparkling while you saw him making those picks, and I just knew that you were going to want to highlight him. But in your game prep, do you remember how many interceptions Jordan Sipes thrown on the season so far? It was 8.
I think it
was 8. Yeah, he's got 8 interceptions. Yeah, Jason Peace, he's responsible for 25% of those. So thanks, Jason. Yeah, congrats, happy for you. So, listen, the Streets Are Talking community vote this week. We got it basically. The results were handed in on a napkin, so I don't know how accurate this is. It's literally scrawled in pen on basically a napkin, but whatever, these are the results. So the community has spoken, and Washington's tight end Azami Mihata got 70% of the vote and was voted in as the offensive player of the week. I was shocked that Tommy Utah was not on the ballot.
It's not even the ballot.
Not even on the ballot. Colin Hart at number 2, and Vancouver's quarterback Christian Brown at number 3 in the voting. On defense, Nashville's Zakiel Benjamin was the winner with 32% of the vote, and then Bob Funk and Jason Peace were actually number 2 and 3 in the vote. So the community didn't agree with us this week, Gerald, but they didn't get a chance to vote for Tommy Utah. I would have.
Yeah, I don't know. It was just kind of weird to see that he's not there with all the things. He had 6 touchdowns last week.
Yeah, 4 in the air, 2 on the ground. How's that not player of the week?
I don't know.
He was in my book. Tommy Utah, go Revs, go Trident, whatever. All right, hey, speaking of the Trident, we got a game coming up here in just a little bit. We got to wrap things up, man. We're going over, and we haven't gone over once this season. Today is not going to be that day. Washington at Bossier City. That's the game coming up first here in Week 14. It's a big one for both of these teams. Washington, they currently lead the West, but they're only a half game ahead of Vancouver, who is on a bye week this week. So Vancouver, they finish on the road, but they finish against a reeling 5-6 Lexington team that they should be able to beat, I would think. So Washington really needs to win out to ensure that they can win the division, because it seems to me like Vancouver's probably going to not lose another game. A loss here or against Pittsburgh in Week 15 could make their division lead disappear. So we'll see what happens with this one. Bossier City, as stated earlier, they can't win the South, but they can join that 8-4 party and cause all sorts of mess for everybody else in the South. They've got to win this one, and then they've got to beat Houston when they host them at home next week. That's not an easy assignment.
No.
But it is possible. So Washington, let's talk about them a little bit. They are number 5, or top 5, I should say, in points scored, points allowed, net points, rushing yards allowed, takeaways, turnover differential. Their quarterback is Tommy frickin' Utah, offensive player of the week, I might add. That's one heck of a squad, man.
Yeah.
Bossier City, they're no slouches either, though. Your guy, Johnny Pickler, you know him very well. He's 5th in passing yards. He's 5th in touchdowns. They got Vin Kellia at receiver. He's playing lights out at the receiver position. On defense, they got Bogey Barr. They got Michaela Forker. Forker was somebody that you highlighted as a defensive player of the week earlier on this season. Probably could have done it a few more times as well. Absolute forces to be reckoned with. This is going to be a great matchup. That is why we flexed it into Friday night, so that we would get the honor of calling it, talk about this game and what we have to look forward to.
What a season the Trident have had thus far, right? With the way they have 8-2, nobody really expected it. I know a lot of people in the house on that squad expected it, but nobody else across the league really expected this to happen. Them sitting at 8-2 after 10 games. They both one of the league's best offenses with quarterback Tommy Utah, who you highlighted, and as your offensive player spotlight, like you said, Number 7 in pass yards this time in Utah. Number 6 in completion percentage. 3 in QBR. Second fewest interceptions in the SFL as well.
How about the receivers?
Wide receiver Terrell Cooper
Who?
and the tight end Azami Mihata have over 600 yards each
That's
and
awesome.
40 receptions on the season. They are very good. They also have a very good 2 running back system with Shane Kaufman and Christopher Dean. Christopher Dean used to be a former fullback for them, and
Yep.
I think it said a couple seasons ago that, hey, he was one of the most dynamic players even as fullback. They moved him to to running back, and they both have over 500 yards on this season for the league's number 7 rush offense.
Yep.
They also have the 3rd fewest turnovers in the league. And as we've seen with all teams that are way up there, right, when you don't turn the ball over, you give your chance, your team the chance to win, and it drastically increases
Sure does, yeah.
that chance of winning. So elite and efficient, and they are extremely stable on offense, I think, which is most important. That's why they are at 8-2 right now. They just have a full package for them on offense right now.
Talk about this defense too. They're great at rushing the passer. They're great at stopping the run. I mean, this team, they're just great at everything. But talk about that defense and what they do.
And I think that their ability to kind of rush the passer starts out with a number 3 rush defense that they had, right? When you're forcing opponents, into a long yardage situations,
got to throw.
It forces them to throw and it puts them in an uncomfortable situation, and they feast on that. This defense has 24 sacks on the season. It's 3rd best in the SFL.
I'm jealous.
And they are also 5th best in interceptions. They have 20 interceptions on the season and are seemingly always in the passing lanes because they lead the SFL in pass defenses, right?
Yep.
So the defenders are just all around the ball in every aspect, whether it's the ball carrier or on top of the quarterback before he throws it, in the passing lanes, picking it off. They have what I think Mexico City looked like last season. They were so dominant kind of on both sides of the ball, and nobody saw it coming, punching people in the mouth left and right, and they're doing that this season. So it's going to be quite a task for Bossier City.
It is going to be a task for Bossier City. In Bossier City, I've talked about it, how they can finish 8-4. It's also worth mentioning, I always try to stay positive, but it is also worth mentioning they could finish 6-6, which would very much knock them right out of the playoffs. So all 5 South teams have the possibility of getting into the playoffs, but they also have the possibility of losing a couple of teams. Talk about Bossier City and what they're doing.
And the Steamers are the pretenders that turned into contenders.
They did.
Over the last few weeks. Look, but their playoff chances are in jeopardy.
Yes.
Over the last 5 games, they have went 2-3.
Yes.
Right? And it starts with protecting the ball for them to be successful. When they protect the ball, they win.
Yep.
In the last 3 losses, quarterback Johnny Pickler has 10 interceptions and only 4 touchdowns. In the 2 wins, 2 interceptions, 6 touchdowns.
There you go.
Obviously, look, them turn the ball over is not a recipe for them to have sustained success. But Pickler is probably one of the most resilient and game-changing quarterbacks we have across the league. He's done across his whole career. I've had him, with me in 2 different spots in St. Louis when I was there. And now they tried it, and in Louisiana, won a ton of games, did good stuff, right? And it was really clear how he can change a game in the Minnesota game that they won and Fort Worth, 2 really good squads. The run game, in my opinion, has to improve because they sit in the bottom 3rd in the SFL in rush yards per game. They need to improve that. They need to get a little bit more of a balanced attack to get that consistency. And what they do, they have loads of talent on this squad.
They do.
One of their best players on offense that Johnny Pickler has at his disposal. He's had Vin Callia with him in London when he was there. He's here in, back in Louisiana, and it's Vin Callia, 1,025 yards on the season, which is 4th in the league, and is 11th in the league in catches. So they have the talent. They just got to kind of put it all together and be a lot more consistent.
Same can be said for the defense, too. I highlighted a couple players, Bogey Barr, Michaela Foraker, as being some great players on their defense, but it's that consistency that you talk of. They just haven't been able to consistently put it together to have a solid defense.
And it's pretty crazy because guess what they have? They actually have the elite talent there to
they
do it.
do.
Michaela Foraker, she's playing out of her mind this season.
Yep.
6 interceptions, 2 of which have been returned for pick sixes.
Yep.
Right? So look, and then Bob Funk, right, he has a great season having 88 tackles, 10th in the SFL on the back end. It's something that I've looked, but they haven't put all that talent that they have together because we've seen flashes about how good that they can be once they put it all together. They just have not done it on a consistent basis. Their defensive ranks, They're 15 in points allowed. Not very good. The pass defense, not very good. They're 15th. 16th in rush yards. 16th total defense, and number 17 in takeaways. These aren't numbers that, it tells a little bit of a story for them, right? And it tells you the struggles that they've had on defense. But they have played a couple of giants I would consider this season in Fort Worth and Minnesota. But can they do it tonight? It's going to be important to keep their playoff hopes alive.
They are at home, so they have that home crowd at their advantage. But man, Washington's the visitor, and like you said at the beginning of the season, they probably looked at the schedule and said, okay,
Yeah,
Washington, yeah. Now, I'd be scared. Got that game coming up in just less than 10 minutes. We got less than 10 minutes on the clock left, Gerald. Let's get into our picks. Boy, oh boy, I don't know if I want to recap last week's picks. You went 4-7.
It's not good, but
no, I went 2-7. That's pretty bad. Like,
how can I go 4-7? You go 2-7.
Well, out of the 7 games we picked, you got 4 right.
Oh.
And I got 2 right.
All right.
It's worded poorly. You got 4 out of 7.
Like
I got 2 out of 7.
There. All right, that makes sense.
I picked less games than you. I don't know. No, listen, I only got 2 right. I was trying to downplay it. I'm 71-47 on the season. You are 73-45. You have reclaimed your lead, sir. There are 28 picks left to go, so we'll see if I can make up some ground. We'll jump right into it because we've got 9 games to choose and 8 minutes to do it. We've got Fort Worth, Pittsburgh. Who do you got?
Everybody knows, look, as I tell you all the time, I actually run into the stuff and I start breaking down some games, talking about teams. I try to talk myself out of making my own pick that I originally picked, but I have to stick with my guns here. Pittsburgh, I love them. They know it's Louisiana North. Louisiana North has never beat Fort Worth, so let's just go with that. Fort Worth wins. Louisiana has never beat them, and that's Louisiana North, so I don't think they're going to get them in there.
Fort Worth is still playing for the South Division title. They're playing from last place, but they still have a shot at the South Division title, and I don't think this is a game that's going to slow them down. I think that they're going to get the win on the road in Pittsburgh. Albuquerque, Mexico City.
This one, I think, for me, once I'm looking at it, right, because I've seen both teams play a lot, especially the Mexico City Aztecs over the last few seasons. So, but I'm going to pick Mexico City. Why? Because of the stat I pointed out earlier. You guys, on average, are beating teams at home by 3 scores, 18-plus points. So, and what Albuquerque does, they're not as good on the road as they are at home. You guys are undefeated at home, just like Albuquerque is undefeated at home. Your losses on the road, just like Albuquerque is on the road. Guess what? Albuquerque is on the road. I think Mexico City takes it.
To the surprise of nobody, I also am going to pick Mexico City. So I'll just leave it at that. DC, Baltimore.
Yeah, man, Baltimore looked really good against you guys. I don't know if I can go get it. I don't think the Dragons are going to have enough to actually go into Baltimore and beat them, because we talked about how they have one of the most impressive home win records across the league in league history. I don't think that's going to change. They look really impressive against you guys last week, and I do think they continue it against DC. Baltimore wins.
They are a rock-solid squad. They're especially rock-solid at home where we played them. We were close, but not close enough. DC hasn't shown quite the same firepower as the Aztecs, and if we didn't beat them at home, I don't see DC beating them at home. Baltimore, I think they're going to get the win. They're looking really good heading into the playoffs. Arizona, Los Angeles.
I think this one's pretty easy to to pick here. A couple of teams, kind of on the west side of the United States. Both of them are out of the playoff picture as it is. But if I know anything about Eddie Gage, he doesn't like losing, and he lost pretty bad last week. Got shut out. He's not going to happen again
in Arizona.
Right. So he is going to go to L.A. and take out some revenge on a team that has nothing to do with why you lost. Sorry, L.A. The Scorpions are going to go and just sting you up.
I had some really nice conversations with Eddie over the week. I think we were on the phone for over an hour one day just talking about the loss, talking about the season, talking about just the SFL in general, how things are going. Listen, I've never once bet against Eddie Gage after he loses. I'm not about to start now. Arizona is going to get the win in L.A. Indianapolis, Florida.
And this is I got to take Florida. Why? Because Indianapolis just looked not very good.
Yeah.
In their last couple games, they just look like kind of almost like a hot mess.
Let's be
Florida.
fair. Their last couple seasons at this point, it's been a rough go for Indy.
And I was all in
shade,
on them, right?
But you've picked them a lot, and they've cost you a lot of losses.
Yeah, they did. And maybe I would have won one of these seasons if I just picked something else. But Florida looked really good last week. I thought Arizona was a pretty good team this season, right?
Yeah.
They went into Arizona and they actually beat them pretty bad. So, and I don't think Florida's going to be at home down, in Florida and allow another team to come in there and actually best them at this point because they too are struggling to get themselves right back in this playoff picture. I don't think they're going to make it with everything they have, but
right.
I mean, they do have
they were on the playoff picture, but at 15, so outside of the playoff scope looking in. So
yeah, but I think Florida wins this one to keep the slim playoff hopes alive.
Yeah, and I would agree. I mean, just seeing what they've done to Arizona last week and Indy's they just don't have it together. I'd love to see. I like rooting for the underdog sometimes. It's good. Like when we were rooting for Oklahoma City and Nashville. Glad to see that. Oh, we have no winless or lossless teams this season. That's good. I like that. Lossless. There's no teams that have 0 wins. Come on, man, catch up.
I thought it was winless.
No, winless would be that they haven't.
Haven't
oh,
won
yeah.
He confused himself. There we go. Next.
Florida. Florida's going to get the win. Anywho, Charleston at Nashville. F off, man.
So, look, this week, Nashville looked good in their win that they recently had, which is really, really good for them, right? So, and they playing Charleston. We already said it all season long that Charleston is a team that plays above their record. When they, rise up to the challenge, they go in there and do it. But they're not going to do it. I'm taking the Nashville tempo to win this game at home. They're riding a high. They figured out what works against a quality type team. And guess what? They're going to get their second win right here over Charleston. I'm picking you. Don't let me down.
There you go. I went back and forth on this one quite a bit, but Nashville just hasn't looked good enough all season long. I'm glad that they got that win so that they are not winless any longer. But I don't think they're going to get win number 2. I bet on Oklahoma City to get their back-to-back wins. That didn't work out. I'm not going to bet on Nashville to do it. Charleston, I'm going to take Charleston in this one. Chicago at Queen City.
Queen City plays a lot better at home, right? I don't think they're going to be about where they are. They're just sneaking into the playoffs at this point. But I do think they keep their playoff hopes alive, and they beat Chicago because they just think Chicago is just so inconsistent. I don't know what we're going to get from them from one week to the next.
Yeah.
At least Queen City is a little bit more consistent here. And they're probably going to show us wrong and actually prove that my pick is wrong. But I have to take Queen City here because they look really, really consistent at this point.
And I agree with literally everything that you just said. Let's go Buffalo, Queen City. I think they're going to get the win at home. Sin City at Carolina.
Cameron Irvine, I'm going to have to change my pick than what you're seeing right here. I have to change it. Reason I'm picking it right here. Why? Because I do think the Carolina Skyhawks are a really good team, and they lock down the East. But I think Sin City is playing for their playoff hopes, and they're going to go into Carolina and take that win away to keep their playoffs hope alive. You know what? They're taking the Samurais from Vegas, and they're moving over to the East Coast into Carolina. They're going to win it, and they're going to have some swords and some birds.
I don't even know what that means.
Go Sin City.
Listen, I'm just glad that we have a rock solid quality producer like Cam to be able to switch graphics on the fly when you decide to go rogue and change your pick. But I digress. Sin City at Carolina. Carolina's at home. They've won the East. They're a great team, and I think they're going to keep on doing it. Sin City, they've been kind of up and down this season. I don't think this is a week for the up. Carolina, I think, gets the win at home. Oklahoma City at Denver.
So one of the easier picks that we got, it's Denver. Denver's more well put together, and OKC just doesn't have it, right? We spoke about this a lot. They just don't have enough pieces yet to make them any real competitive against a really, really good team.
And that's the problem. I picked Oklahoma City to possibly win because I saw how good they did the week before, kept a competitive game and ultimately got the win there at the end. Denver, I expected more from them this last week, when they were, hosting Houston, and they just came up empty. So I looked at this one. I thought, does OKC have a chance on the road? I don't think so. I think Denver's still going to have enough to take down the Renegades. So give me Denver in this one. So that's our picks. We picked only 2 different this week, so I've got a shot to tie it back up as we get ready for Week 15. But hey, first we're going to get ready for Washington at Bossier City. This is going to be a great game, and like I said, if you don't want to listen to us, you can wait around for game number 2. But don't do that. This is a good
also game. Think about this. This is the Revs' last 2 quarterbacks that they had.
Oh yeah.
playing tonight. That's gonna be enjoyable to see. Two
All
former
game
quarterbacks
long,
playing.
Gerald's gonna be like, "Go Revs, go Revs, go Revs."
Once a Rev, always a
I'll
Rev.
mute his mic. I promise. Listen, don't go anywhere. We've got some great games coming up tonight, and then even more throughout the weekend. SFL action here in Week 14. We'll see you on the field.